Inside one of Europe's most powerful supercomputing centers, there is a processor doing something that shouldn't be possible. It computes without pushing electrons through billions of transistors. No switches flipping on and off, no heatsink the size of a radiator, just light, pure raw physics doing mathematics as it flies through a chip. And this is not a concept paper. This is not some PhD student's whiteboard fantasy. It has been running real workloads since the summer of 2025, and since March, its second generation has been crunching AI jobs inside a live supercomputing facility near Munich. The numbers coming out of it sound almost fake. The photonic unit draws about 30 watts, while the NVIDIA accelerators, it was measured against pull 700 to 1,000 watts. And the company behind it claims its architecture can cut power per workload by up to 90 times. If even half of this holds up, it doesn't just challenge NVIDIA's GPUs, it challenges the entire economics of AI. But there is a catch buried deep inside this technology, a missing piece that could hold it back for years. And we will get to it. This is the story of how a small company from Stuttgart, Germany, put light-based computing into a real supercomputer, and why one of the biggest hardware shifts of our lifetime might be starting right now. Subscribe to the channel and let me explain. Let's start with the actual problem, because there is a very real, very expensive problem the data center industry doesn't like to say out loud. GPUs are incredible machines. The H100, the B200, NVIDIA's entire Blackwell lineup. These are genuine marvels of engineering. But every new generation consumes more power, runs hotter, and demands more cooling than the one before. Right now, cooling systems alone can eat up to 40% of a data center's total energy, not computing, not networking, just keeping the hardware from cooking itself. Sit with that for a second. And it's getting worse. ChatGPT now handles roughly 2.5 billion queries every single day, which adds up to around 850 megawatt hours daily, roughly enough electricity to power 28,000 American homes for a full day, per day. And every new model generation pushes that number higher. Researchers estimated that a single GPT-5 query burns nearly 9 times more energy than a GPT-4 query. Scale this across the whole industry, and the International Energy Agency expects global data center electricity demand to roughly double by 2030, approaching what the entire nation of Japan consumes in a year. This is the wall AI is racing toward at full speed. The deeper problem is actually architectural. Modern GPUs are built on the von Neumann model. You compute in one place, store memory somewhere else, and shuttle data back and forth between the two. At the scale of modern AI, that data movement costs an enormous amount of energy, often more than the math itself. Researchers call it the memory wall, and hitting it with a large language model is exactly as painful as it sounds. Then there is Moore's law. The old idea that transistor density doubles every 2 years is running on fumes. We are now packing transistors so small that electrons literally leak through barriers they are not supposed to cross. Quantum tunneling. At this scale, physics starts working against you instead of for you. Silicon is running out of room to shrink. So the industry doesn't just need a faster GPU, it needs a fundamentally different way of thinking about computation. And that's exactly where light comes in. So how do you actually compute with light? Photonic chips don't calculate with electrons. They use photons, particles of light, and that one substitution changes almost everything about how a chip behaves. Light travels through a waveguide far faster than electrons drift through copper. And because photons don't experience electrical resistance, the computation itself produces essentially no heat on the chip. No resistance, no waste heat, no thermal throttling at the point of compute. But here's the part that made me stop when I first dug into this. A single beam of light can carry multiple completely independent streams of data at the same time, on different wavelengths, effectively different colors of light. The technique is called wavelength division multiplexing. So instead of processing one matrix multiplication and then the next, you can push dozens of them through the same physical beam in parallel. Electrons physically cannot do that. Light can. The actual math happens through a phenomenon called optical interference. When two light waves meet, They either amplify each other or cancel each other out, depending on their phase. That interference pattern is the calculation. An entire layer of a neural network can be processed in essentially one pass through the chip. No clock cycles, no fetch and execute pipeline. The result simply appears as a consequence of light propagating through the material at, well, the speed of light. It's almost beautiful when you think about it. The material making this practical right now is thin film lithium niobate on insulator, or TFLN. Unlike silicon photonics, which often tunes its components with tiny on-chip heaters, lithium niobate responds directly to electric fields to change its optical properties. That means fast, precise control and components that don't thermally interfere with their neighbors, so you can pack them far more densely than heat-tuned silicon would ever allow. And on the software side, I know the first question everyone asks: do developers have to relearn everything? The honest answer is no. The processor ships as a standard 19-inch server with an x86 host processor and a Linux operating system, and the toolchain maps familiar operations, Fourier transforms, convolutions, sine and cosine, directly onto the chip's strongest native primitives. The translation happens underneath, which brings us to the company actually shipping this, because their last 12 months read like a timeline someone invented. Q.ANT is a photonics company based in Stuttgart, Germany, founded in 2018 by Dr. Michael Furch as a spin-off from the laser giant Trumpf. And their first bold move wasn't a chip, it was a factory. Instead of begging a foundry for capacity, Q.ANT teamed up with the Institute for Microelectronics Stuttgart and converted an existing CMOS production facility into a first-of-its-kind manufacturing line for its TFLN photonic chips, an old silicon fab upcycled to print processors that compute with light. That gives them control over their own manufacturing, exactly the kind of chip sovereignty Europe has been talking about for years, actually built. Then, in July 2025, came the moment that changed the conversation. Q.ANT delivered its native processing server to the Leibniz Supercomputing Center, LRZ, in Garching, marking the first integration of an analog photonic coprocessor into an operational high-performance computing environment, not a demo unit in a lab somewhere. One of the largest data centers in Europe, a global powerhouse in supercomputing, serving universities and research institutions across Bavaria and Germany. The commissioning ceremony was attended by Germany's Federal Minister for Research, Technology and Space, who called it a milestone for Germany and Europe and framed it as a matter of technological sovereignty. Which tells you Berlin treats photonic computing as strategic infrastructure, not a curiosity. The money agrees. That same month, Q.ANT closed a €62 million Series A, one of Europe's most significant deep tech funding rounds. By November, Stanley Druckenmiller's family office had invested another $80 million, the largest photonic computing financing round Europe had ever seen. And the founder of ARM, Hermann Hauser, sits on the advisory board. Serious people are betting serious money on this. But money is easy. Benchmarks are not. In November 2025, Q.ANT unveiled its second-generation NPU, and in March 2026, they deployed it at LRZ. The numbers coming out of that facility are hard to ignore. Compared to the first generation, Gen 2 delivers more than 50 times higher throughput on matrix multiplications, 25 times faster inference on a ResNet 18 image recognition network, and 6 times lower energy consumption on typical workloads. That is not an iteration. That is a different machine 1 year later. Furch put it in a way I keep coming back to. Progress that took digital computing 10 years, photonics just achieved in 1, because photonic computing is scaling much faster than CMOS. And here is where it gets uncomfortable for the GPU world. LRZ's chairman evaluated the photonic processors against NVIDIA GPUs and reported roughly a 50-fold advantage in matrix vector multiplication over conventional electronic approaches, with the Q.ANT device running at about 30 watts, while comparable NVIDIA accelerators draw between 700 and 1,000. The architectural claims go further. Up to 90 times lower power consumption per workload and up to 100 times greater data center capacity, driven by higher computational density and faster calculation. Because the chip produces essentially zero heat at the point of computation, the massive cooling infrastructure that drowns a normal data center's budget largely disappears. And this isn't running toy problems. The evaluation covers AI inference, computer vision, and physics simulations, with the new phase targeting drug discovery, materials design, and adaptive optimization, workloads where nonlinear complexity and energy efficiency are critical. There is one more twist here that I find genuinely clever. Q.ANT. ANT's second generation doesn't just do linear algebra and light, it computes nonlinear functions natively. Sine, cosine, Fourier transforms, operations digital chips have to approximate through thousands of transistor steps happen here as physics in one shot. These enhanced analog units reduce parameter counts and training depth, which means smaller, shallower networks doing the same job. In one demonstration, the first generation NPU running at just 200 megahertz learned and reconstructed images better than a CPU running at 2.4 gigahertz, using a network with about half the parameters. A processor at a fraction of the clock speed, beating silicon with better math. That is an advantage you cannot get by shrinking transistors. And Germany is not alone in this race, which is exactly what makes this moment so interesting. In December 2025, researchers from Shanghai Jiaotong University and Tsinghua University published a chip in the journal Science called LightGen, a fully optical AI chip integrating over 2 million photonic neurons on a die of about 137 square millimeters, which outperformed NVIDIA's A100 by more than 100 times in both speed and energy efficiency on generative tasks like high-resolution image synthesis. Its 3D stacked architecture processes an entire complex image in one pass instead of slicing it into patches. And it builds on an earlier Tsinghua system called Axel, which combines photonic and analog electronic components and hit 4.6 quadrillion operations per second on vision tasks. To be clear, LightGen remains a research prototype built for narrow, predefined workloads. But step back and look at the pattern. Germany deploys photonic processors in a national supercomputing center with ministry backing, and China publishes all optical AI chips in Science. This has stopped being a science project. This is a strategic race between nations, and it is moving fast. Okay, now I want to be honest with you because believing in a technology doesn't mean pretending its problems don't exist. And photonic computing has three big ones. The first is the catch I promised you at the beginning. Photonic chips cannot store data. There is no such thing as practical optical RAM right now. So every time the chip needs data that isn't actively flowing through it, it has to reach out to conventional electronic memory. And every crossing between the optical domain and the electrical domain costs a penalty in time and energy. Depending on the workload, that conversion overhead can claw back a painful share of the gains you just celebrated. The best analogy I can think of, imagine building the fastest race car on Earth, then realizing your pit crew delivers the wheels by bicycle. The car is genuinely extraordinary. You will still spend a lot of time sitting in the pit lane. Researchers are working on optical memory, light-based equivalents of cache that would keep data in the optical domain, but nothing practical is shipping yet. Until that cracks, every photonic system lives or dies by how cleverly it minimizes those domain crossings. The second problem is flexibility. Photonic chips are phenomenal at specific kinds of math, matrix multiplications, Fourier transforms, convolutions, and for those, nothing else comes close. But general purpose, arbitrary logic still needs a CPU or GPU sitting right next to the photonic chip. That's why every real-world deployment today is a hybrid. Light handles the heavy mathematical lifting, conventional silicon handles everything else. Even the LRZ project is explicitly framed as research into hybrid digital analog architectures for future HPC environments. Nobody there is ripping out their GPUs. And the third problem is manufacturing and trust. Thin film lithium niobate is not a material TSMC or Samsung has spent 40 years perfecting. Yield at volume, long-term reliability, analog precision under production conditions, all of that still has to be demonstrated. These are analog processors, and analog means noise. Q.ANT states that accuracy is sufficient to support state-of-the-art AI applications, but sufficient has to hold across millions of chips, not a handful of servers. Even LRZ's chairman, the man reporting those 50 times numbers, sees a plausible path to 1,000-fold performance gains as the technology matures, yet deliberately stops short of calling it revolutionary today. That mix of enthusiasm and restraint is exactly what you want from a scientist. And honestly, that is the entire point of this deployment. It drags photonic computing out of the controlled lab and stress tests it under real production conditions. That is the line between research and real technology. And they have crossed it. So what is the realistic picture here? Photonic computing will not replace your GPU next year. Your gaming PC is fine, and NVIDIA is not filing for bankruptcy on Monday. But that was never the point. What photonic chips are doing right now is positioning themselves as the only credible answer to an energy problem the entire AI industry is refusing to look at directly. The math simply doesn't work for silicon anymore. AI workloads are compounding faster than power grids can expand, and you cannot build a new gigawatt data center for every major model upgrade. Something has to give. A 90 times reduction in power per workload is not a small efficiency gain you can shrug off. It changes the economics of the whole business. Furch's argument is blunt. Adding more digital hardware no longer solves AI's compute scaling problem. Brute force transistor logic simply turns electricity into heat. My honest read on the timeline: between now and 2030, photonic coprocessors become standard accelerators in specialized high-performance computing, scientific simulation, computer vision, energy-constrained AI inference, sitting next to CPUs and GPUs, the way GPUs once sat next to CPUs. And that parallel matters, because the GPU itself started exactly like this: a narrow accelerator for one class of math that almost nobody took seriously as the future of computing. After 2030, if optical memory cracks and TFLN fabrication scales properly, the ceiling gets much, much higher. Remember, the people running these benchmarks see a path to 1,000-fold. What Q.ANT built and what LRZ is now stress testing matters because it is the first concrete evidence that computing with light holds up outside a controlled laboratory under real operating conditions, with government backing and institutional accountability on the line. Computing with light. It still sounds like something out of a novel, but here we are in 2026, watching it run inference jobs at a national supercomputing center. And honestly, I think we will look back at this exact window of time as the moment everything quietly started to change. Now, I'm really curious to read your take on this in the comment section below. Is photonic computing the technology that finally breaks silicon's grip on AI, or a brilliant niche accelerator that never escapes its memory problem? If you had to bet on the next decade of compute, light, or electrons, if you enjoyed this episode, the best way to support this work is to share the video with someone who still thinks GPUs are the endgame, and subscribe to the channel for more deep dives like this one. Thank you for watching.